walking to.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm your other host, Leslie, and we're bringing you another week of horror, everybody.
Another week. We got a special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Kendall Kennedy.
So, dudes, how you doing tonight?
Welcome to the show, Kendall.
What's all good, folks? What's going on?
This is like absolutely the first time you've been on this episode.
It's the first of many, I hope.
I hope so, too.
I'll be sorry.
We're new friends. We just met recently.
Recent.
All of us.
Yeah.
You reached out to us and said you're a huge Deadlights podcast fan.
I love when lights die.
And we were like, you know what? Let's take a chance on him. Let's have Kendall Kennedy on the pod.
You guys are so sick for this, guys. You guys are sick for it.
Yeah, so just start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I come from pretty humble beginnings. My family is involved in crude oil, and we were part of the big BP scandal a few years ago. My last name's Kennedy. You might have heard one of my great-great-grandpappies. He got shot down in Texas, and then another one of his brother also got shot somewhere. He's less famous, so we don't know that one. I'm just here. I just love America. I love American people, and I love American movies. Like this movie we watched today called Predator.
Wow.
Predator. You're right, Kendall. Well, thank you for being here, and you just introduced the movie Predator from 1987, directed by John McTiernan, written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas. A team of commandos on a mission in a Central American jungle find themselves hunted by an extraterrestrial warrior.
With some fishnets and some sexy glitter.
Sexy predator.
Wow.
I think that is probably where we should start just initially. This is the first Predator movie, which has become a massive horror icon in a franchise. There's been plenty of Predator films and crossover films. The Predator blew up after this. So this is pretty cool to see the beginnings of that massive horror icon.
They did a fantastic job with making it look as realistic as possible, with its face. I mean, it has a lot of contraptions of and mechanics for its mouth. And he looked creepy. Nasty.
They really get a lot of mileage out of how viscous his face and skin is, they use the blood, and the blood is radioactive green goo, whatever, and it sticks out because it has to. But when they finally show that dude's face, you're that is moist, and I wasn't expecting that.
You're a butterface.
Yeah, really.
What have you ever seen anything scarier than that, Kendall?
I mean, you should see me when I don't have my cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, well, that's fair. So it kind of makes sense why this guy's stuck around for so many years. We're talking about 40 years ago. This thing is still making appearances and probably will have plenty more movies. So they obviously were very successful in creating a recognizable and a very cool villain for us to follow in many, many films to come. But let's get into the first one, shall we? Let's get into the can. Let's talk about it. I would say that this is probably the most action-y movie that we've had on this podcast so far.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this is mostly an action movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really doing the big set pieces, the gunfights, the explosions, the one-liners, the pumping masculinity through this entire thing. I think this is one of the best action movies of all time, probably.
Yeah.
Stick around.
That action sequence is fucking gnarly, dude. That was tight, man.
Whoa, explosion.
Car explosion.
I also loved they made sure to be they do the establishing shot, and I feel this has gotten lost over the course of cinema now, but they do the establishing shot to showcase how many men are in this compound, right? And then you just watch each and every single one of them. I don't know if it's one for one, but it feels pretty close to the exact amount of dudes that you get shot or seen shot and blown up is about the same amount of dudes that they show in the establishing shot. And that's just like, I like how they just like set up this like platform, you know, of just like, here's what the stakes are, here's what the death cult is. And then they just like shut it all down right in front of you. Suck, man.
Knock, knock.
That scene must have taken days. And
Oh,
days to
so
shoot.
long.
The amount of time and effort and planning that goes into these huge set pieces, we need to tip our hat to that, because I don't think that people realize. You see it happen in front of you. It's amazing. But you don't really sit there and think about the amount of stunt choreography that has to go on, the safety, pyrotechnics, and all this kind of stuff that go behind just this one scene.
Yo.
I mean, we talk about the legend of the Predator after this being blown up, but also Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, like he was already becoming famous at this point, but this was definitely, I think, a big notch on his belt to propel him to become the Arnold Schwarzenegger that we know today. So this was a huge film for him as well. You're right. I think he stepped in and became that solid, just guy that we can make into a toy. Like, we could sell this guy so easily as the action hero, and he delivers it. He doesn't need to be a good actor to deliver it.
Man.
All right, we can.
Oh, do you have any
I think that
thoughts?
we're discounting like an amazing American actor. Like, he just, I
He's
love
not
that
American.
all right, to each their own.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Arnold and I are from like the same part of Arkansas, and like we all just talk like that. So, you know, it's just, that's like, I love that he just like, just to show that he's just like an Arkansas boy, just from like the States. He decided to keep his like real accent, and I just love that.
What city was that?
Bloomingdale's, Arkansas. Bloomingdale's, Arkansas.
Oh.
Bloomingdale's, Arkansas.
Yep.
Didn't they go out of business?
The city?
I think so. I thought that's what I heard. Sorry, man.
I feel like my patron is being laughed at right now.
The whole city is baked around.
It's just off the map now. They lost their spot on the map.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's just
Sorry.
me and
like-
Arnie were there for when they closed down the town. It was really brutal.
Instead of like a ribbon cutting ceremony, they tied the ribbon back up.
Yeah, and they renamed the city to Sears. It was brutal.
Ooh.
Oh.
I
I
know.
hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Going back to Arnold, love Arnold, but I do think we should also mention the guys around him, because there are actually some very good actors.
Like amazing actors. I don't remember any of their names, but
No,
they're all
but
sick.
They're great, and I think what works about all of them is we kind of do feel like this legit camaraderie that there is within this group.
It's very clear that each person in the team has their own like specifications. Like the one dude is very clear, like he's he knows the land, he knows nature, and he knows how to like properly watch, and like he's the guard dog of the group. And then there's the other guy with the thick mustache who's just like, he's clearly like the artillerist, and he's like the one that keeps track of all the guns. And then there was like the nerdy one that died, and he's like a nerd, you know? And then there's like the skinny one who died, and it's like he's there to be the bottom for him. And then like Arnold is there just to be like some juicy checks. And then I just love how every single person just like fit in a piece of the puzzle. And also like a side thing, I love that like Carl Weathers' character exists to establish that like these guys represent Americans, but not the American government or not the American like military system. Feels very much like commentary on like the Vietnam War and that kind of thing. Just the way that they like shoot the jungles that they're in and everything like that, and the like language that they're using.
I just want to mention this kind of guerrilla style shooting. We kind of mentioned it already because like it seems a little like lower budget, but I think it also is kind of intentional. This like we're following behind these guys, we're in there in the jungle with them. It makes us really feel along for the ride of this movie. Also, like you just mentioned, it does feel like we have some Vietnam commentary coming through here. And I think that with this style especially, that very much gives the vibes of the actual footage that we were seeing of Vietnam on the news. This was a new experience for people in the United States to see what war actually looks like for the first time. And so that leaves an imprint on you. And I think that these kind of shots where we're down on the ground with these soldiers are, if not directly referencing those, very much giving, reminding people of that.
Yeah.
And I think with that, we should maybe move into the meat. Before we get there, do you even like horror, Kendall? I mean, your message that you reached out to us was very vague. You were just like, "Hey, I'm on the HOD" or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, sure, we'll take a.
Wait, you
crack
type
at
with
it.
your accent as well?
I do. Well,
Wow.
I voice to text everything, so it's just Siri and me
Yeah,
are
it's a voice
tight like
message.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the initial question? I
Do
kinda
you
zoned out.
even like horror?
No, not really. As
Oh.
a red-blooded American, I think fear is a weakness. But I do think that it's important to study it in order to like best combat it. Because like, what if one day I was fighting down some Russians that I thought were Cambodians? You know, it's just like I don't want to be one of those guys that get shot. I don't want to be the twink or the nerd. You know, I want to be like Arnold. So I think for that aspect, I look at it with like a learned eye. But in general, I don't like being too terrified.
Yeah, you get scared easily.
Yeah,
Well, how tall are you, Kendall?
I'm 7'10".
Oh, wow. And you get scared easily?
The smaller something is, the more terrifying. it is.
Like an
okay.
elephant.
They- oh my
mouse.
goodness! If
part
I
elephant?
see a mouse, I'll scream like a yuppie.
You'll buck.
What about a cockroach?
Don't say that word to me.
No, ooh, careful. He's tall. He's tall. He could crush us both.
Cucaracha?
I can't speak another language, so that works for me.
Perfect. Yeah, just speak Spanish to him.
Yeah.
Just keep speaking Spanish to him. Speaking of speaking Spanish,
Muy bien.
this movie, you kind of just started to talk about it already, Kendall.
Yeah.
Where this movie very much feels like a little bit of an allegory for Vietnam.
El que hace trofeos de los hombres means the demon who makes trophies of man.
Which also, I think, it kind of leans into like the ending of like, you know, the way that they beat the predators by like covering themselves in mud and all that kind of stuff. And I do think that that is sort of like, I don't know if an allegory is right or whatever, but that feels like the way that the Viet Cong beat the Americans, who had like way better tech and like, you know, resources. And instead they're like, we just know this land and we're desperate and we don't have a choice. So we're going to do everything that's accessible to us to try and beat back this enemy. And it ends up working just like Vietnam did, you know?
I think on the surface, this movie is very much a fear of the enemy in the bush
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if we're talking about Vietnam, that was the first time that we saw these guerrilla war tactics.
Yeah.
And they completely threw us off, killed so many of our soldiers. Terrifying. And that was the thing, is we couldn't see them in these thick bushes. And so, yeah, the predator can use the land, use its resources that are literally on its back to defeat and take out almost the entirety of this militia.
La selva se lo llevó.
¿Qué?
No sé, no estoy segura, no sé.
She says the jungle. It just came alive and took him.
What I like about this movie, too, is there's a second layer where this is also about the fear of the situations that our government puts us in.
Yeah.
Because I think the Carl Weathers character is great because we establish him as Dutch's like best friend.
So why don't you use the regular army? What do you need us for?
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
You son of a bitch! What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
Damn good to see you, Dutch.
What is this fucking Thai business?
Oh, come on, forget about my time, man.
Go on.
Simple setup. One-day operation. We pick up their trailer at the chopper, run them down, grab those hostages, and bounce back across the border before anybody knows we were there.
But then when we get there, we realize that Carl Weathers, who's part of the CIA, he has ulterior motives to get information and power over the communist forces that have set up camp there.
Got us in here to do your dirty work.
Look, we just stopped a major invasion. In 3 days, they'd have been across the border with this stuff.
Why us?
Because nobody else could have pulled it off.
He himself was picked by the fucking government, by America, to accomplish this. He had already sent a troop, and he didn't want to use Arnold's troop because they are friends. And he was like, well, my first one fucking died. I don't want y'all to die, but you guys are the best of the best.
So you cooked up a story and dropped the 6 of us in a meat grinder. What happened to you, Dylan?
I woke up. Why don't you? You're an asset. An expendable asset.
And he lied to them to get them there. And so I think that goes to like Big Brother or your best friend, seemingly like your best friend, still using you for political gain, power. It's all about power plays that our government is using us soldiers to pull the influence in their direction. And that's scary too.
I don't know, Dutch. This is inhuman. Nobody told me there was an operation in this area. They shouldn't have been here.
Somebody sent them.
I don't know if this is the proper place to like talk about it, but I did kind of want to bring this up. In terms of like, so much of this film is about like hypermasculinity in like the purest sense, right? And then I feel that what the movie's trying to say by the fact that like everyone gets taken down, every one of these hypermasculine dudes gets taken down, even Arnold like several times. It's not until he takes a more like tactful and like inquisitive aspect and almost like somewhat feminine in the sense of like looking at your surroundings and like applying mud to your skin and really like trying to get in your opponent's head, that felt interesting. That's what won the day, and that being like the thesis of the film, right? Also, this film series gets partnered with Alien, which Alien is another weirdly hypermasculine film where the femininity is the only reason why anyone survives in the end, because everyone else is brutish and bullheaded, thinking that they know what's going on. Sigourney Weaver is the only one that understands that we don't know what's happening. And it's not until Arnold himself is like, I don't know how to beat this enemy, I'm just going to try and figure this out. And it makes me wonder, like, I don't know if this film in particular is trying to, like, say anything about that. But, like, do you guys have any feelings about, like, how masculine rage, quote unquote, plays into, like, the overall ability to, like, achieve one's tactics?
I think it's, there's only so much that you can use with brutal force before you have to take on the more like quote unquote softness approach, and that is just being patient and diligent. Diligent. Just because we also have to remember that there is a progression to even the most up-to-date technology that came from us having to build up just like basics. And that is what Arnold did with all of his like traps and sharpening his tools, even down to the camouflage. Like those are all things that we as humans did to hunt and take care of ourselves when we didn't have a shelter. And this alien just is murdering for the sake of murder, but that doesn't make him any better than whatever the fuck these people are and the Russians that were killing other people. Like,
I was about to say, can you really say that like a bad guy is a bad guy because they murder when the people they're murdering are like military contractors, you know?
Exactly. Like they're all in the same field. In this
It's funny to imagine that Arnie, after like having all of his companions murdered, would like meet the Predator at the water cooler during work and be like, God, hell of a day, am I right?
just crack open a cold one.
Ugly motherfucker.
I think that in general with horror and masculine rage, it always has felt like the masculine rage has been the catalyst for whatever evil or dark entity that we're fighting, whether it's like these aliens, or even like a haunted house, you know, like a murder of a family, a father murdering his family, like, or someone opening a book and reading something that they don't understand, trying to take control of a situation. It's always what I love about this genre. It's always the other side that then comes in and has to clean it up.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even like just succinctly in these two movies, though you're right that these two movies definitely take a more sexual tone with it.
Yeah.
What I guess my point is that you can find that kind of in all horror, and then it's the softness, it's the good side that we are all rooting for too, because we know that that's what's gonna like overtake this masculine rage. What it comes down to sometimes, Arnold has to become the Predator in the end. He has to use the same tactics that, like, the Predator is camouflaging himself with his little thing the whole time. The whole mud on the body is his camouflage. So he has to become and use what the Predator has used against them to defeat it finally. All right, well, let's get to the cook, I guess. Let's move on to the cook.
Let's cook it up.
Cook this meat. Before we get there, Kendall, do you have a favorite movie? You know, you said you don't like horror that much, but what are movies that you like?
My favorite movies of all time is No Country for Old Men.
Oh, that's a good one.
I like it more. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. I love Fargo and a lot of their other works. And I'm a big fan of the book No Country for Old Men more. So just like Llewellyn's story. Yeah. It's just beautiful to see it get brought on screen. I love Mad Max Fury Road. Just because I think George Miller does like a really excellent job trying to get like one shots, and like practical effects in that are like really beautiful. Another one of my favorite films is WALL-E, the Pixar movie. That scene defined dancing when I don't need to bore you guys, but I have very strong opinions about the movie WALL-E.
Oh.
Anyways,
Might have to do a whole separate podcast about that.
if you guys want to watch WALL-E and see a 7'10" man cry, then I am here for it.
Also, WALL-E is a horror film.
It might be a horror film.
The idea of being alone forever is pretty scary to me.
Yeah. This movie reminds me a lot of Jaws in the way of how they tell the story. Because for a majority of this film, we don't see the enemy that is stalking us in the woods. I think they had some great restraint with how much they were showing us. And you got to remember, too, in 87, no one had ever seen what a predator looked like before. We all know what it looks like now watching it because it's in pop culture, but they didn't know it was coming. So I thought how they piecemealed out this creature and revealing it slowly as it just keeps getting closer and keeps picking them off was really well done. It kept it very tense, for sure.
Once it started killing people, it did not stop.
No.
Until we got to Arnold.
Because they like kind of piecemealed it out and made us wait when we finally did get to our action, and it was like really good, awesome explosion, huge gunfight, crazy sick kills from the Predator itself. It pays off. And then we get a big old awesome battle between Schwarzenegger and the Predator for the last 15 minutes of the movie, and a big explosion at the end. It's kind of like, I don't know how much more we could ask from them.
I do want to bring up the Predators, because we talked about it a little bit, about his technology.
Oh, should we just get to the thrill then? If we want to talk about the monster.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's jump into it. Oh, the spookiness. Yes, go. What about his technology?
His technology is so advanced. He has some repair kit in his own fucking hands. Like tweezers and like some ointment to like close up wounds.
What I do love about that is we have this monster that we haven't really seen through the majority of the movie. We're seeing little glimpses. But the first time that we actually see him without that invisible camouflage on him is when he gets injured. It's when he's vulnerable. Yeah. So we as the audience get like a tiny... We don't see him fully in that scene either. We just see the close-ups of him. But that's the first time that we're getting a sense that he's like a scaly... reptilian kind of creature, beefy as hell, and also, like you said, great technology. Yeah, super advanced.
And wearing fishnets, though, that's just crazy to me. Like, what is it about conceptualizing the predator, being like, you know what he needs? He needs fishnets.
Well,
Like-
I think the store was out of gimp suits, and then they just kind of had to settle for second best.
They wanted leather.
But
they
like,
only get
okay,
the
think
fishnets.
about medieval times. They
Yeah.
used
Chainmail?
chainmail.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that to the predator is its chainmail.
I can
like-
see that. I can also rationalize it as like if we're thinking more tribal, fishnets literally were used for catching fish. So maybe it just like is a reflection of their world.
Yeah, because even its hair is done. You know,
Yeah. Well, one,
they resemble like dreadlocks, and
Yeah.
like it has little metal, like yeah, like jewels,
Little jewels.
and stuff.
I was going to say, I know that we learned this in a sequel Predator movie, but this Predator is actually a child. And the whole idea is that, like, Earth specifically is like a training ground for young predators to go like fight xenomorphs.
By child, you mean like a teenager, not like a 10.
I think it might be like a 10, 11, 12 type thing. And so maybe like this predator is like trying to experiment with its look. And so it's like, I'll try like fishnets and dreadlocks. That's like a new look. And then like its dad will see it and be like, son, we got to readjust. You got to go fight xenomorphs back home.
Well, sorry, Dad. This predator ain't coming back.
No, this predator is murdered by an Arkansas boy.
Yeah. And then I will say that once we finally got that reveal of our predator when he took the mask off, still great. Still great. Those animatronics are incredible. I mean, for any time, yeah, those clicks. Also, another creepy element about it is like the voice copying shit that it does.
Oh, that's nightmare fuel.
A cat plays with its prey, maybe sometimes even for days before it decides to kill it. So it instills trust, and they hunt for fun. And it's one of the animals that does that.
A lot of the things the predator does feels very cat-like.
Why?
It does that thing. It's one of those things that just
does the
is.
murder for fun.
Murder for fun thing. And that's exactly what the predator does.
So yeah, so like if a cat is able to play with its prey, then I'm assuming the predator is using the voice activating thing to, yeah, for sure.
It's creeping me the fuck out. All right, well, let's get to the final ride, shall we, of the Predator film. Before we get there, Kendall, what are your weekend plans?
This weekend, I got some family down in Florida that's getting married. But
The whole family's getting married?
yeah, we're really big like that.
Ew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think that as somebody that is 7'10" and sounds like this is not a product of inbreeding? Come on, man.
That's fair.
So,
fair.
anyways, I'm gonna go fuck my cousin and do some cocaine probably.
Florida. What's that Taylor Swift song? I think that's a line in there. All right, so the ride of Predator. Fun ride. I gotta say, fun ride. I really do love this action movie. Hot take here, but I think we don't need that woman character at all in here. Get rid of her. Let's just make this all dude movie. It's
Honestly, kind of same.
They're like really driving home the like masculine camaraderie already. So let's just go full there. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting a lot of crotch shots, ass shots, bulging muscle shots. Fuck
Yeah.
it. Just go all there.
If we could replace, here's what I'll say. I would sub out the one female character and make it all dicks, except if you just gave the twink more screen time and had him have like a pseudo-sexual relationship with Arnold. Or Carl Weathers, either of them. I want to see those buttery lips kiss that bony face.
I like it. I like the rewrite so far. Leslie?
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna go with your. I'm gonna agree with your hot take. I just don't think the female character added much. I didn't like her being thrown like around, and she provided some sort of like oh, I know these parts of the jungle a little bit better, but then
She was
no
there to
one was
kind of know
really,
the predator, it felt like.
no one was listening to her,
No.
you know? So maybe if they would have done something more with her, I don't know what. There's already a lot of characters that, yeah, she just felt like an audition that wasn't needed.
All beef.
All beef. All beef. All beef.
Predator 1987.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's get to these Smash Pumpkins. Let's see, out of 5 Smash Pumpkins. What the fuck?
What did you just say? 3 CDs?
Three Smash Pumpkins. All right, 5 Smash Pumpkins. Let's see what we got. Kendall, let's start with you. What are you thinking?
I'll give it like... This might be what I gave it last time. I'll give it like a 3. 3.
All right, 3.
Nice.
Wait, is this in terms of being like a movie or being in terms of like a horror movie?
Horror movie.
Oh, 2.
Oh, 2.
Yeah.
Downgrade.
You were close.
You were close.
What did I rate it for?
2.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Going back through it too. And why? Why a 2?
Look, I love this movie. I think it's very fun, but it just wasn't. It didn't qualify as like a horror movie. It didn't accomplish what I expect as like a horror movie. I'm a very like easy to frighten guy, and I didn't feel like frightened this entire time. I felt like Arnold was gonna carry me to safety in his big bushly arms, and like that's great for some people, but for me, I was just like a little bit underwhelmed by it. Still enjoyed it.
Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, no, for a horror film, it definitely was not entirely scary, but maybe I'm also desensitized from, you know, a lot of the horror and the horror.
All the horrors in this movie.
There was a lot of horrors, actually. Yeah, no, like,
No, yeah.
no, Kendall, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not
Chew
fun.
away
This is
from
an
the mic.
ASMR, okay?
Chew away from the mic, please.
Just because
Sorry.
you finished your fucking
Kendall,
review.
Kendall very sweetly brought snacks to set today, but. So what are you giving it, Leslie?
I'm gonna give it a 3. Solid 3. I still think it's pretty enjoyable. I think The Predator is an icon, is a cult classic. But yeah, it's more of an action movie than it was a horror film. I could rate it higher if we were actually an action film podcast, but we're a horror podcast.
Agreed. I do. I agree. I completely agree with you, and I think I will also give it a 3. And I think that what gets me to that 3 for the horror side is that it is functioning off of this unseen enemy that we don't know the entire time, and I'm trying to put my head in someone who is seeing this for the first time, not knowing what a predator even looks like, and then that reveal at the end must be pretty shocking. But I think that you're right. This is a great action movie. It really is a great action movie with actually feeling like something to say, which I think you don't necessarily always get in action movies and in horror movies. You don't always get that in movies in general. But they actually are feeling like they're saying something and using the filmmaking to reinforce it too, which I was pleasantly surprised rewatching this. I kind of had forgot that. So go Predator. I will give it a solid 3.
Go Predator!
Go Predator! Yeah!
Yeah, we're here for Predators.
We're here for Predator. Ooh.
This is a safe
That's where you want to
space.
end this?
This is a safe. Leslie
no.
Soto said it first. This is a safe space for predators.
Yeah. All right. Well,
No.
thank you so much for joining us. And Kendall, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for reaching out randomly.
Dude, I literally was doing nothing with my life before this. So.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what's your plans after this? Where are you going? Are you going back home or?
No, I'm gonna go to Florida to fuck my cousin. Do
Oh,
cocaine.
right.
Yeah.
How could I forget that?
I didn't.
Well, Kendall, really want to thank you again for being here. Also, really want to thank Andy Ryan for maybe being here. But we have a number you can call.
Yeah.
That number is 773-669-6677. Yeah. Movie
Please.
suggestions, stories, anything really.
Email.
Your email, I guess. I don't
Your social security number, your mother's maiden
Leslie wants your
name.
email and social security number
I
for some
want
reason.
your email. I want to go back to the old-fashioned way of contacting.
What's your address? I'm gonna send you a letter.
Yeah. Letters are dead because it's so expensive to send one.
Yeah. Not worth
Yeah.
it.
No.
Anyway.
Anyway. In the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram, Color Me Leslie.
And me at BeepBeeperGT. You can follow us at the Deadlights Pod. But until next time, let's get spooky. What did I just get into? What did I just get into? What did I just walk into? What did I just walk into?